Hello and welcome to Dreams of Wings and welcome to Kirkwall. It's got Norse origins and it was founded in 1035 and now it's really the capital of the Orkney archipelago. So today we're going to be flying for Andras Meridian Airlines and I'll tell you a bit more about them when we're airborne. But we're going to be taking this beautiful Beechcraft V35B Bonanza with that striking V-tail on an air taxi trip from here in Kirkwall down to Inverness with 3 passengers on board. They've got a bit of baggage and we're going to be carrying a bit of cargo, probably whiskey or something like that. The V-tail has really got to be my favourite GA aircraft, and it's probably no coincidence that part of that is a lot of the technology that was used in it came from World War II warbird fighter technology. It's an aircraft that you really do have to approach with respect, and you've got to learn to fly it, and flying it well really takes an art, and I'm kind of hoping to get there. The Bonanza was really designed for performance rather than making it easy for the pilot, especially an inexperienced one, and in fact its nickname used to be the Doctor Killer, which came from the fact that post-World War II a lot of professionals and wealthy business people were going out with limited flying time, really due to the constraints of their day jobs and their careers, and they're jumping in this high-performance warbird and GA clothing, and sometimes that didn't go too well. So really, why the V-tail? Well, Beechcraft's claim initially was that it reduced drag and increased speed. Since then, it's kind of been proved that that's not necessarily the case, or if there is any increase, it's really negligible. One of the main plus points for the V-tail that doesn't really impart any real performance benefits is what it does to add to the appearance of the aircraft. It makes it look cleaner and more efficient, even if it isn't. And this was certainly a big factor in the sales, but it certainly makes the aircraft look quite striking. Now, without going into too much depth, what this V-tail arrangement also gives us is a different configuration of our control surfaces. So instead of our traditional rudder and elevator, we've got this wonderfully named ruddervator. Now, due to a complicated system of rigging, the pilot has the traditional controls at his disposal with rudder pedals and yoke, as if he still had a separate elevator and rudder control surfaces, but he doesn't. And this gives the pilot the feeling that he's in control of what he's used to, but actually the way the aircraft works is slightly differently. And we'll talk more about that when we're in the air. So our V35B here is the type of V-tail that went into production in 1970. So this has had significant improvements over the years since the 1947 Model 35. And also this was actually the last type of V-tail that was produced, with Raytheon scrapping the design in 1982. But as I say, it's one of my favourites. Definitely my favourite A2A GA aircraft. I should say this is the A2A Simulations Bonanza V35B. Absolutely fantastic simulated aircraft. It's their most recent GA aircraft, and they just did a cracking job with it. Anyway, enough with me waffling. Let's get this taxi service up and running. Right, first things first, we've got to get our maintenance checks done and do our fuel and do a walk around and make sure that this aircraft is airworthy before we risk any fee-paying passengers on board, because that wouldn't be a good idea. So what should we do first? Let's put some fuel into the aircraft. So looking over at our flight plan, we are I'm just going to look over here. I was trying to avoid you moving the track IR, but it's a bit difficult. So we're going to be flying EGPA here from Kirkwall down to Inverness EGPE. We're not worrying about the time too much. It kind of defaults to 10 a.m. Now, this is just something that this is using FS Airlines, I should say. So at the moment, we're looking at the FS Airlines website where we're actually booking the flight, and that's the time slot that's in there. Our flight number is UKA0243, and the aircraft is our wonderful Bonanza V-tail. Registration here is G Boner. That's the registration of this aircraft on FS Airlines, but we are in our own aircraft, which is Golf Delta Romeo Mike Sierra G Dreams. And thank you to Thorsten from AMA for creating this beautiful repaint, but also allowing me to have my own personal registration, which is very kind of him. Very talented guy. This repaint is absolutely beautiful. Yes, we've got 231 kilograms of passengers, 75 kilograms of their baggage, and 47 kilograms of cargo, whatever that might be. We haven't got any packages on this one, so that's nice and easy. Now, this comes with a kind of rudimentary fuel calculator, so it's saying that we're going to need an estimated fuel of 30 kilograms. We are carrying 84 kilograms, so we've actually got more than enough. I topped up on the previous leg when I was coming out, so I'm not going to add any more fuel to it. We want to maximise our profits on this flight, and we've got more than double the fuel there. Yeah, that pretty much sets that one up nicely. Yep, that's fine. Okay, so we'll get rid of that. Now, before we get the passengers out, let's check the maintenance hangar. Now, we've got 52.3 hours on the airframe, only 18.4 hours on the engine. This was because stupidly I clicked engine overhaul once instead of inspect, and that was a very silly thing to do. So let's carefully select inspect, see what the engineer has to say to us. Well, that's okay. So we're in beautiful shape. Let's have a quick look at the engine. We'll do a compression check. Now, if anything was wrong here, if it was an advisory, you'd see it in amber. If it was a real issue, you'd see it in red, and that's when it needs replacing. So we're looking good here. We've got the slightly more powerful 550 engine in. That gives you 300 horsepower. And if we had the V35B, sorry, the 520 engine, then that would give us 285. So there's not much in it. We'll just go power all the way. Another neat little feature of the V35B that you don't see in the other A2A aircraft is that you can have different instrument failures as well, and that will show up here. This really is a proper persistent aircraft that will misbehave if you treat it badly. So you have to keep your toes, or keep on your toes with it rather. So we've checked in with the engineer. He's happy with everything there. So let us do a walk around. Get out. We've done you. So we're starting off in the cockpit here. So we're going to remove the control lock. There we go. We are going to, I'm actually going to remove that because it makes it a bit difficult in here. Stick the battery on. Check the fuel gauges. They match what we think we put in. So that's absolutely fine. Fuel selector, we will put it on the left tank. Flaps, we will extend. We will then put the battery switch off. And we check the ignition is off. Okay. Let's have a quick look out here. So we press and hold that. Good movement there. Just have a look there, see if anything's wrong. Everything looks in place there. Quite happy with that. Move down the wing now. Our linkages there look absolutely fine. Always good to know that your ailerons are going to work. We've got nothing in the tip tank, so as you can see, they're empty, as they should be. Our light looks like it's in good condition, so nothing to worry about there. We'll remove the chocks there. We haven't got a tie down as we're on concrete, so we're absolutely fine there. Check the tank. Now, the fuel is actually too far up the wing to actually reach this point, so we're not going to see any fuel in there at the moment. What we're seeing is dry because we're actually carrying quite a small amount of fuel because we're doing a relatively short journey. But what we will look at is the actual condition of the fuel, which we'll check in a bit. Yep, tyres looking fine. Just check that we've got nothing blocking the inlet there. Propellers looking good, and our landing and taxi lights look intact, so nothing to worry about there. Let's have a look at the oil. Oil's looking good, absolutely fine, quite happy with that, and it's a good colour. Let's check the fuel, nice and blue, lovely jubbly. You could almost drink it, well maybe not. Same with this wing tank here, not really seeing anything in there because the fuel hasn't reached that point yet. Let's remove the chock and let's remove the wrong one. There we go. So we removed the chock and we're now going to remove the pitot cover. Now what we need to do quickly is let's turn the battery back on and let's turn the pitot heat on and let that heat up nicely. I think really here it would have been a good idea to turn the pitot heat on at this point, back when we started off in the cabin, and then jump out, or turn the battery off once it's heated and jump out and quickly work its way around. But quite often I find that by the time I've got round to that point it's cooled down, but maybe I'm not leaving it on long enough. Okay. Let's now jump outside again and press and hold. There you go, it's red, that's good. So our pitot heat is working. Gives us a secure feeling, and stall warner is clear. Port light is okay. Again, nothing in the tip tank, but there you go. If we wanted to, that's what we'd be checking. Linkage is looking good here on the aileron. Checking the flap there, that's good. Check our linkages. Nothing missing there, that's good. Static source is clear. No tie downs. Check all our linkages here, quite a few with our complicated ruddervator system, but that is all looking good. I'm not seeing anything missing. Press and hold it. That's good, nice and solid. Static source is clear. That's okay. I mean, we're checking that that's locked, but actually we need to load their baggage now. So we will hop back in. So let's load up the peeps. Passengers, to give them their more respectful terminology. Now this, yeah, not quite. I was going to say I thought it might automatically load. So one of the quirks of this is that the baggage compartment doesn't necessarily match the actual baggage and cargo that we're going to be taking on. So our baggage is 75 kilograms and our cargo is 47. So the maximum that I can get into the baggage compartment here is 91 kilos. So if I take my, and I'm holding a calculator here, which you'd always have in your cockpit. If I add my baggage to my cargo, that's giving me a total of 122 minus 91. So that's 31. So I've got 31 kilos that I need to find a home for with my passengers. And my passengers come to 231 kilos divided by 3. So that's 77. So I need to add about another 10 onto that. So what I'm going to do is just add an extra few kilos onto my passengers here. I'm sure they won't mind. And that should give us our correct weight. Pilot, of course, as always, is lightweight because, of course, I do not carry any extra weight. I am trim, slim. Right. Okay, so we are good to go there. Just having another quick look at that to make sure I've not messed that up. Let's do a quick check. 231. This is very entertaining for you not watching me using the calculator. So that's 36 plus 47. 91 plus 87. Right. Okay, so we've loaded up, we've got our passengers, we've got our fuel, we've got all our baggage loaded up and all that kind of stuff. Now what we need to do is actually start our flight. So what I need to do now is run over to the actual FS Airlines app. I'm going to try and do this without breaking anything. I'm not sure how this will work, so bear with me. So we're now, as far as the FS Airlines app is concerned, we are now live and we are now ready to start our flight. So let's just get into position here. I'm going to be using a little nav map. In fact, let's move here and I will take a snapshot of that. There we go. So there's our route. Kirkwall, go down to John O'Groats, and we will then head down and eventually get to Inverness. Weather's pretty good, so we should have a nice flight. Normally when I'm doing this kind of thing, I fly real world weather. The weather today is absolutely atrocious, so I have cheated a little bit and I've gone for a day when I actually happened to be up in the Highlands last year when the weather was relatively good. So so that's what we're going to do, and that's what we're going to go with. Okay, so let's go through our checklist. So pre-flight, I told the passengers, have a great time, peanuts on the right, beer on the left, they're happy. One of the quirks of this is that you can't actually see the passengers. They are hidden. Let's close the door. That's locked. Seatbelts and shoulder harnesses are on. I'm going to quickly put the battery on, raise the flaps. Put that back in the neutral position. Our radios are off. Our circuit breakers are all in. Everything's looking good there. Check all our electrical switches. Everything is off. The autopilot is off. Rotating beacon we are going to put on. And fuel selectors we're going to... have we got a fuller tank? Oh, hang on, we need to switch that on again. They were pretty equal. Yeah, so we're going to pop that onto the left tank and leave that there. Gear switch is down. That's absolutely fine. Let's just move this from here. Mixture is rich. Prop is fully forward. Throttle is full. I've already done the battery there because I wanted to do the flap. We're also going to put the alternator on at this point. We've got 3 greens on the gear. Now this is a tricky point with this one. Let's just open this and get some ventilation. One of the things you do see with AccuSim is it will simulate the aircraft starting to mist up a bit as we all sit in here breathe. So we've got to very quickly turn the fuel pump on until this just goes into the green and then turn it off. Otherwise there's a risk of flooding the engine. There we go. So that's nicely done. Let's put the throttle down to cracked. Quick look around just to check nothing awful is going to happen, and let's start. There we go. Slightly hesitant start there, but we got there in the end. checking oil, making sure that our oil pressure's there. That's good. Okay, let's now ease back on the mixture so we're idling. At this point we'll pop the nav light on. Let's have avionics on. Start bringing the aircraft to life. Let's open the cowl flaps while we're heating up on the ground. So very simply, on the flight plan, I'm just going to pop in EGPE. We're not going to necessarily follow the magenta line. We're going to use it for guidance, but we're actually going to, I thought I'd take us over John O'Groats just so we can have a look at that. This is the Orbex True Earth scenery, so there will actually be something to see there, which should make it a bit more interesting rather than just flying over the sea the whole time. Let's bring the revs down a little bit there. We're a little bit too high, should be below 1,000 revs RPM for the warm-up. While we're here, let's get the weather. Which is something I'm going to do is again, I don't think you'll see this in active sky. I'm just going to put in where we are and where we are going, just to simulate the weather a bit better. There we go. Okay. Right. Sorry about that. You couldn't see that, but I was doing something off screen there. Okay, so let's have a look at the weather here. So our QFE is 1019. So let's dial that in. There we go. Okay, and everything else is looking good. Hardly any wind, which is fantastic. So we should have a nice, pleasant flight. Let's have a look at our temperatures. Still warming up there. Okay, let's get going now. Let's taxi out and we'll do our run up once we get close to the runway. Coming from down there. Beautiful morning for it. Love all the different sounds, the bumps, the squeaks, the rattles. Really does bring this aircraft to life. past this runway here because we're not going to be using that. Steaming up a little bit, so let's get some ventilation. Open up the ventilation down here as well. There we go. Okay, so let's have a quick look. We have radios are on, transponder we're not using, altimeter we've done, heading indicator is looking good against the compass. Landing gear indicator is green, radio we're not using, parking brake is off, that's fine, that's okay. Okay, so we'll do our run up. So brakes hold, got the brakes on, fuel quantity is looking good, fuel selector is in the desired tank which is left, mixture is, we'll set to rich for this. Throttle up to 1700 RPM. Check our engine instruments. Our oil pressure is good, oil temperature is good, cylinder temperature is both of those down at the bottom in the greens. Happy with that. Let's do a quick mag check. Good. That's fine. Looking for 150 RPM drop maximum there, and then we'll just cycle the prop 3 times. That just helps to get the oil out in the governor and make sure that everything is working okay there. Great stuff. Okay, let's bring it back. Close that again. Right, before takeoff, controls, full and free movement. Happy with that. Rudder is fine. If I can look around without... There we go, you can see that operating there. Mixture is rich. Fuel pump on. Engine gauge is looking okay. Our prop is fully in. Trim tab is neutral. Cowl flaps are open, flaps are set, we're not using any flap. Doors and windows are locked and secured. Let's go. Just looking down there because I have an awful feeling my rudder pedals have slipped on the floor, but we will find out. We don't really want that happening now on the runway. Right, happy passengers. Prepare to be propelled to the Scottish sky. Line her up on the piano keys. Quick look, checking our T's and P's again, make sure everything's okay. 3 greens, flaps up. Everything else is looking good. Strobe light on. Landing light on. Should have done that just before we entered the runway. Naughty boy. Okay. Brakes on. Let's advance the throttle. Let's go. And as we do our roll, slowly increase to full power. Watching that centre line. Positive rate of climb. Everything's looking good. back on the throttle and back on the propeller. So the right turn now. Above 1,000 feet, I'll turn off the fuel pump and also the landing light. I'm going to put pitot heat on at this point. Never hurts not to have that on. Never hurts not to have that on. Never hurts to have it on. What a load of waffle that was, eh? Say the hotfix on 5.1 has certainly made the advanced atmospherics work a lot better. There's still some funny things going on with it, but it does work pretty well. So we'll go up to 4,000 and I will pop 4,000 in onto the box here. T's and P's are all looking good. No problems there. Nice and gentle for the passengers. That's the Flight 1 GTN. I don't think I said that before. That doesn't come with the aircraft, it's an add-on, but I love it to bits. And in waffling to you about that, I blew our altitude. So let's come back down, come off on the power a bit. So throttle first. Oh, a bit of turbulence up here. Just trim her down a bit. There we go. A bit more trim required. So what I'm going to do is just trim her out nicely. And then we'll stick her on autopilot. And then we can get some outside shots. Because I've got passengers on board and because I'm doing this for Andras Meridian, I'm not going to risk their discomfort or well-being by trying to fly this aircraft from the outside. This aircraft has an autopilot and we will be using that autopilot once we're nicely trimmed. There we go. Stay there. So let's pop on the nav, the altitude, autopilot on. Let's have a quick look that everything is looking good there. Autopilot's going to turn us onto the GPS course, which isn't necessarily the course that we're going to take, but while we're doing this, that'll suit our purpose. So let's take a look outside. Okay, so back inside, let's have a look. We're going to lean out now. Looking at the EGT gauge, that's come up nicely. Listening out. There we go, losing some power there, so bring it back. Now we're nicely leaned out. At this point also we see the left tank has gone down a bit, so just to balance us out, let's switch the tank. Quick look around, T's and P's, everything good there, no issues, happy, 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 good. Okay, now one thing I want to do is just because we're on the GPS course here, is just kind of bring us back where we should be with our actual map course. So over there we have John O'Groats. Let's actually let's go and have a look. So we've just switched from nav to heading mode. This is one of the amazing things about having an autopilot, is that they can kind of do it for you. I try not to use it too much, but for a passenger flight like this, it's quite nice to stick it on. Gives them an easy ride. Duncan's head over there. And that's down there is John O'Groats, where everyone cycles to and walks to and runs to. And when I was quite young, we had a family holiday up here just on the coast, and looking back that way at night, all you could see was distant lighthouses, and it was quite amazing seeing the lights. It was sort of almost quite spooky. Just back on course now again. Like I say, we're not following the magenta line so much, but following a flight plan from the map that I've got, and I know that my course is 216, so let's settle on that and then keep an eye on things. Wind, we haven't got a huge amount of wind up here at the moment. We've got 13 knots, which is pretty much hitting us head on, so we're not going to get much course deviation from that. Increase our manifold pressure a little bit, check our RPM. So we're in a fairly fast cruise. Pretty much, yeah, 24 inches and 2,400 RPM, maybe 2,450 RPM. Doing well on the speeds, just at the top of the green arc. Adjust our heading slightly. Those are cowl flaps. Certainly don't need those anymore. So Andras Meridian Airlines, that's who we're flying for today. a cracking VA, love them to bits. I have no aspiration really at this stage to go into big airliners. The biggest I'm probably going to get into is going to be something like the Dash, which will happen at some point. And I've got the Majestic Dash. Is it Q400, Q800? I'm not sure. I just don't fly it, so I can't remember. But that will probably be about the biggest that I'm going to go for, because I love the warbirds first and foremost, but I love GA. And one of the great things about flying for Andras Meridian is that I can fly a GA aircraft like this and have a purpose of flying. So when I do a trip, there's a reason I'm doing it. It's because I've got passengers on board, making money for the airline, albeit a small amount of money, and having some great fun flying a GA aircraft at the same time. And I love it. Most of my GA flying is when I'm doing a trip like this, and it's just very relaxing. It's great fun. I don't do ATC. At some point I will do ATC, and I know it's something that I really should do. I should get into VATSIM, but at the moment I haven't got the time to brush up on my RT and procedures, so we just leave it as is, and it's just great fun. And again, the ability to stick it on autopilot for some time and just have a cup of coffee while you're watching the instruments is very relaxing. It's almost like a meditation as such, but I think it's great. And it has to be said, this scenery with advanced atmospherics looks so damn realistic. It's just unbelievable. That's WWII over there, by the way. WWII is used quite a lot for ferry flights, and well equipped for that sort of thing. So head back in, have a look. T's and P's good, everything's fine, nothing's about to fall off. Happy with our I must be going senile, the word's gone. Are leaning, and we have got 58.6 miles to go on the GPS track. It will be slightly more in reality with what we're doing, because we're doing a slightly different route. Yes, a bit more about AMA. You can fly a huge variety of aircraft. They do have the big airliners. They've got the various different routes, the air taxi, the kind of thing that we're doing, the regional, the long haul, kind of everything there really that you could need, and a great bunch of guys. Some fantastic repaints, of which this is one of them. What more can you say? They do an amazing job. They put a lot of work into it, and for that I'm really very grateful to have the ability to do this kind of thing in my sim. Now I'll put a link in the notes below. Please do go and have a look at them, and if you're thinking of getting into a VA, you know, can't recommend it enough. You'll have some career progression. You kind of start off small and work your way up, but it doesn't take too long, and you put the hours in, and you'll get the rewards. So yeah, and as I said, fantastic bunch of people. Absolutely stunning out there. This is, as I was saying before, with the advanced atmospherics and this scenery, it does create an incredibly realistic feel to it. I do love it. I kind of found myself stuck up here really. This is the area that I do most of the air taxi flights in. My hub base is actually down in, there's a shot. Sorry, just taking a screenshot. Is down in Cardiff, but I tend to spend most of the time up here, and then every now and again I'll take the aircraft back to Cardiff and do a flight or two back up again. Quick look around, T's and P's, everything's looking good. Just ease back a little bit on the, there we go. Airspeed indicator just almost touching yellow there. Just want a nice gentle cruise. Time is 8:30 in the morning, not bad. 34 miles to run. See the Murray Firth over there. Lossiemouth over there somewhere if you've been watching the P40 series. There we have a bit of cloud being injected in. So weather using active sky. And I haven't got cloud art running because that seems to add some funny things into it. So it's just active sky and then the advanced atmospherics with the true sky. Cloud, it gives a pretty good general impression. It's not quite as photorealistic as the old Skyforce was, but it looks pretty good. Speed a little bit now. What I am going to do at this point is have a look at the weather. So wind is 200 at or 1 knots rather, coming from 200 degrees. So again, very little. QFE is 1018. So we'll dial that in as we get a bit closer. So really, as far as the runway goes, we haven't got anything that we need to worry about. There's no ATC to tell us what's there. So yeah, that's all good. Get rid of that, get rid of that. So looking at the map here, I think what we'll do is just take that out. Yeah, I think we'll go for runway 23. So Dornoch first there, or in immediately. So at this point I'm going to change our heading. Just so it sets us up nicely on the ILS. Quite a distance out, but this will take us slightly more directly, but still give us some scenery to look at. Around, everything's looking okay. What we'll do now is start a descent. So first of all, I'll dial it in. We're going to go down to 2,000 feet. So we'll dial it in there, and not going to press arm quite yet. What I want to do is reduce the power slightly. And then we will give it some nose down. Reducing the power. Try and park it at 500 feet a minute. Oh, it's just gone slightly over. There we go. So we've got our altitude armed to 2,000 feet, we're descending at 500 feet per minute, and when we get to 3,000 feet we should get the alert, and then at 2,000 feet we should level out. Passengers are all very quiet. This is the weird thing about this, that with P3D you don't get the passengers with you unless you're in the outside view, but they are there. And if I was to do that, my head in real life of course would connect with something. There we go, there's our alert. Speed is a little bit too high. Getting too carried away looking out the window there. That's the only thing with this scenery. You have to concentrate on flying the aircraft. Leveling off at 2,000, I've got my hand on the throttle. Let's get some rich in the mixture a little bit more now that we've lost some altitude. If you heard the engine starting to lose a bit there. That's the great thing about this AccuSim, and it's what you don't get in Flight Sim 2020 at the moment, is that kind of, or at least I don't think you do, that kind of accuracy Maybe you do, I don't know. I don't fly it enough really to understand, but what I do know is that with AccuSim you get pretty damn close to reality. And you can see the oil rigs just over there. That's where they get parked up. Okay, let's continue our descent down to 1,000. And what I'll do is make it nice and shallow again. Possibly descending a little bit early, but we're over water. Watch the power. We will quickly go over onto here. Let's get our ILS dialed in. There we go, ILS 23. Switch that. Now, as we're not flying the, as we're not actually flying the GPS route, we're still flying a heading. At this point, I am going to, just so that we're ready for it, switch over. So we've now got our ILS dialed in here. Nice and low over the sea. A few floaty buildings there. For some reason you do get that sometimes. Around. Let's switch the tank. Okay, so at this point I'm going to take control back. Thank you, autopilot. So as we come in now, we're going to be intercepting the ILS localizer. As you can see, we are low on the glide path, but that's fine. If we were doing a proper ILS approach, we'd be setting this up a lot further out, but as it is, we're cutting a few corners and it's not really a problem coming in at this height. We're visual anyway, so it's not going to cause us any issues. So let's do our landing checklist. Autopilot is off, fuel pump is on, fuel selector is on the correct tank. I'm just going to trim her a little bit to behave a little bit better. That's it. Fuel levels are good. Mixture, I'm going to go fully rich now. Altimeter is, what was it? It was 1018, wasn't it? So let's check that to 1018. Cowl flaps are closed. Visual check over there. Bring the speed back now. Overshot that slightly, but that's okay. Drop our gear now. Trim, trim, trim. Watching the speed coming down. Let's have a little bit of flap. Prop fully fine. And 3 greens, good. I watch the speed. Bit of turbulence there. So on the pappies we are still a little bit low, bit of trim. Let's get some more flap out now. Using our power for our attitude, or our height rather. And our attitude for our speed. So we're coming in a little bit faster, so we need to reduce that down.
500.
Let's have the landing light on. Need to get a switch set up for that. Drifting over a little bit. Looking for 70. In going down to put the landing light on, we lost a bit of our direction there. So we're a little low. With a bit of power. Don't want to balloon too much. Too high there. Watching the aiming point. Bit fast. Let's correct that. And flare. Just add that I have not added to that applause. It's part of the FS Airlines app. That's the happy passengers in the back who are feeling mightily relieved. Okay. Touchy rudder there. Let's vacate the runway. There we go. Okay, so let's have landing lights off. Let's set the strobe off. Let's raise the flaps. You happy in the back? Yep, good. Okay, so as landings go, it wasn't bad. It was a little bit sloppy because of the reaching for the landing light. In V4 I had everything set up with switches for that kind of stuff. I haven't quite done it yet in version 5, which I should do. Let's lean us out, which I haven't done. And as a result, a minor thing like that, looking down, the aircraft was quite nicely trimmed out, but because I looked down, we just drifted off course a little bit, and so that created a bit of extra work for me to do. So just goes to show, make sure you've got those kind of things mapped out. It does make life a lot easier. Okay, we'll just come over to the right here a little bit as we're about to do our left turn. here we are at Inverness. Try not to use the brakes too much, really. Get a bit of ventilation. 'Tis the summer. And I think we will park up here. There we go, right. So, we've done that. We're going to open the cowl flaps. Our temperatures are fine. Should have done that maybe just after landing, but there you go. Right, let's put the brakes on. That little sound is just to tell the FS Airlines that we've kind of ended the flight there. Okay, let's do that. Let's turn off our radios. Close the throttle, mixture off, there's the engine, magnetos off, turn off the beacon, the nav, pitot heat, alternator, battery, there we go. And we are down. So thank you very much for joining our flight. Let's have a quick look over on the FS Airlines app and see what the all-important landing rate was. And I think I'm going to have to pop into the website. And this is where we find out just how bad that was. Let's see, there we go. So that was 162 feet per minute, which was, that wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. And due to the short flight, we earned the airline $17 and, $17.57. That can't be right. Surely it was more than that. No, it was. Oh dear. Yeah, I don't think I'm reading that right, but it was more than $17. My eyesight's going after a long day. Right, so there you go. Thank you very much for joining this flight. I hope you enjoyed the scenery as much as I did, and I will see you back on the channel soon for another adventure.